Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. It seems the BBC are not learning very many lessons. Michael Prescott, who was previously the advisor to the BBC's editorial guidelines team, he says there were often times when bias was highlighted and shown, and the Standards Committee refused to accept that it was systemic. Sort of the systemic causes to the bias. They put it down to individual interpretation. He says, but it was actually clear that it was the culture of the BBC that was causing the bias. And he said that during his 3 years at the BBC, he highlighted many, many times where this bias lay and why it was self-reinforcing, because anyone who criticised the bias was they themselves then criticised. And so it became easier just to keep your mouth shut. There was an environment of fear. How dare you speak out, kind of thing. Nothing was tackled properly. Nothing would ever be investigated if it was highlighted. And they were told, oh, well, it's just a minor thing. It's just the old thing that sometimes creeps through. He said, but when you actually look at it in the root, there was lots of them. He says, and they are systemic in the entire structure of the BBC from the bottom to the top. There was no way it could stop. He said things continually got worse. This self-reinforcement just kept pushing and pushing and pushing until eventually you would never even recognise where it was from where it started. He said it needs to overhaul right from from its core values upwards. It needs to be able to investigate editorial concerns without any kind of fear. And he says that the best thing would be create a new deputy editor general post that is existing outside of any power structure, so it can become truly independent. Well, the BBC needs to do something because its funding is going to be reviewed very shortly, and especially once Reform get in, because Reform are very much of the opinion that it needs to stand on its own and have it as a subscription model, say. Quite right too. Let me know what you think. Thanks a lot. Bye. Oh, and one other thing. People have been questioning me on this. I haven't finished it yet. Still got things to do on it. But in case you see it in the flashing, look, that's a beaut, isn't it? Garish. I showed it to my wife, and she said, "Oh my God, you've gone back to the 80s." And I went, "Yeah, tinsel and shit." Bye.